Alright, welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on the cat generator set again. I have a couple goals I want to get accomplished in this video. First, I'm going to get the injection pump drive, the fuel filter housing, all removed. I want to get the oil filler and breather removed. That's going to be pretty easy. I want to get the cam removed. Now I know I said I wasn't going to pull the cam, but as I was cleaning the crankcase, I noticed that there was some surface rust on a few of the cam lobes. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do a sufficient job of cleaning that rust unless I actually pull the camshaft out completely and really give it a thorough inspection to verify that there's no high spots or rough areas that are going to chew up the cam followers or the valve lifters, whatever you want to call them. So let's proceed. Pull this pump off. Alright, got you guys set up here, and let's start with pulling that throttle linkage running up from the throttle lever up to the governor housing on the pump. Sorry this chain's in the way, but there's not too much to see there. Let's get started. I'm going to keep the camera rolling for this whole process. Don't know if I'm going to upload this as one shot or break it up. Some people like to watch the whole process. Let's take this oil filler off first. Note that my hands are fairly clean at the beginning of this little process here. You see how dirty they get, how sludgy everything is here. Even these bolts. Easy enough. Gonna leave this oil pressure line on, and this one up here as well. And I want to take this whole unit off as an assembly. Appears to be held on with only 4 bolts. 4 bolts should take this flange off here. There's a dowel pin as well. I'm going to loosen those bolts. I think I'll loosen them all, and I'll take out the center 2, and then bring the strap in here and put some tension on it. Now, one thing that I'm not sure of yet is how exactly the gear lash is set between the drive pump, with the injection pump drive gear, and the gear on the cam. So I see that there appears to be a gasket or a shim between the two. Not quite sure. We're gonna find that out. Discover that together. Okay, so they're loosened. This whole housing, this whole housing is wiggling around. Alright, so I'm actually going to bring the ratchet back over here. Got one continuous sling here. Let's see if I can That oil line may be in there, but I think I'm going to remove that, just so I can get the sling around without bending this line dramatically or drastically. Give me a sec. Alright, let's get back to it. Well, these fittings are very tight. It's handy. There are a lot of oil pressure lines on this engine because it has an interesting method of protection for low oil pressure and high engine temperature. It utilizes the engine's own oil pressure to keep this piston pushed forward, and there's a lever arm here that if the engine oil pressure drops too low, it will close the fuel rack. Similarly, there's a solenoid valve type device, like a pressure actuated or temperature actuated solenoid valve, that will close off oil pressure and allow that piston to close off the fuel rack. At least that's how I understand it. So I'm sure we'll learn more about that when I go through and clean this fuel system and pump. All the paint is the worst part on this thing. It's been painted so many times with just like yellow paint for your house or something like that. So the paint is very, very thick and it tends to bind everything up. There we go. Okay. That's one out of the way. This one is just kind of curled through here. So let's see about getting that sling on now. Hope it don't block your field of view too much here. Definitely going to have to move the gantry forward. That looks about right. Still in shot there. Feels like the strap has most of the weight. Okay. Let's take the bottom bolt out. Remember, it's still sitting on a dowel pin. Okay then. The line. Look at that. Man, this thing's starting to look pretty bare with all of its attachments off. Okay, well, I'm going to stop you there. Now we got a free hanging fuel system. Let's take a look and see how the lash is set on those gears. I'm curious. Looks like there was a second dowel pin up here I didn't see. And then the one down there. There's the oil line to feed this bearing. Got a little seal there. Oops, sorry. So how was that lash set? This looks like just bare steel here. Got a piece of cork. And sorry, bare steel here as well. No gasket. Okay, so no gasket here and no gasket here. So it's just steel on steel. That's set in your lash. And then they just pinch the piece of cork there to make up a seal on the inner surface. And they've got this. Hope I can get this little guy. Kind of looks like a little conical seal. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. A little conical rubber seal. Well, I'm sure I can, if I can't get that part from Cat, I can find something that'll work. Alrighty, look at that. Block's looking pretty bare now. It's good, I'll be able to clean in this area. Alright, let's get the pump down on the table and get this thing back inside. Alright, well, we're back inside. Got the heat going because it's cold and damp out. So, realized I forgot something at the beginning of this video. I said I wanted to pull the camshaft. Well, I forgot to mention, gonna have to pull the oil pump to pull the camshaft. So, got a little ahead of myself there. Wasn't thinking straight. I've already removed the one crankcase side panel here. This one has a dipstick in it. Also removed the opposite side as well. So let's get a look down there. Yeah, alright. So, did I call it the crankcase cover? That's the oil pan cover. So right there, that's the oil pump. They call this the triple pump on this engine because it's got 3 suction points. One, obviously, the sump. And the front of the crankcase, we've got an oil pickup right there. That little foot there. And then we've got a third oil pickup at the rear of the oil pan, rear of the block, back there behind that one crank throw. So there's actually 3 pumps in one here. The 2 front and rear, they're pretty much just for scavenging. They'll pick up any oil that lays up in the front or the rear of the crankcase and bring it to the sump here, and the main oil pump will pick it up out of the sump and feed the bearings. So we're going to have to get that oil pump out of there to clean it and inspect it, but also to lower the oil pump drive. Oops. I moved myself over here. See if I can get you in there around that lamp. Gonna have to pull, this is the oil pump drive here, and you probably can't see, but there's a gear up here that meshes with the gear on the camshaft. So in order to slide the camshaft out, we're gonna have to drop this oil pump drive down a little ways. From reading the serviceman's reference book, I do not think I'm going to be able to pull out the complete oil pump drive without pulling the pan, which I'm not going to do. But I will, however, be able to remove the oil pump itself. So let's get a look at the other side. See what I'm up against. Alright. So straight in front of you, that tube going off to the right, and then the one on the bottom going off to the left, that's the rear and the front scavenging pickup lines. They're held on with a nut on a stud. You have to remove those, take those studs out, take off the main oil pickup, which is right in the center there, and pull off 4 bolts. One there, one behind there, and 2 on the other side. That will allow me to drop the oil pump down and slide it out away from this angle, so slide it out the opposite side. You get a good view of the inside of the engine from here, don't you? I can't quite see what you're seeing, but good view, I'm sure. Alright. I will try to get some action shots of pulling this oil pump out if I can, but it's close quarters in there. Alright, this might be a goofy angle, but you're on crankcase cam now. So I'm going to go around the other side and see if I can pull off that oil pickup, that lower, or the main oil pickup. I'm going to try to narrate what I'm doing, but you might not be able to hear me. Every single one of these bolts has a locking tab on it. So that's what all this banging is. That should allow me to take the pickup off. Wrong size. it's going to have to come out your way. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Big cast aluminum thing. Probably a screen in there, I would imagine. Don't know. We'll find out when we take it apart to clean it. What's next? I suppose next thing is going to be taking these nuts and studs out that hold the scavenging pickup lines. I'm going to do that from this side, so you're probably not going to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, well, I did manage to get the stud out that holds the oil scavenging lines on. I'll show you, take you over here and get you a look at that. It's an interesting part. So that thread holds this somewhere in the center, and just like it described in the manual, I took the nuts off both ends, used them, jammed them up, doubled them up I should say, on the bottom part of the thread there, and then I was able to back the whole, unscrew this thread from the center and pull the whole stud out the bottom. So now I should be able to take those 4 bolts off that pump flange and pull the pump itself off. Alright, you're back on crankcase cam. Let me see if I can get that oil pump out of there. Now this should, if I understand the book correctly, drop down slightly and then be able to be pulled out right toward me through this hole. If we need a ratcheting wrench for this part. I need to be going the right way too. One more left. Okay. Now, I don't know how heavy this is going to be, or how stuck it's going to be. I have to tap it with a block of wood here and a small hammer. Oh, it's coming. Okay. got some weight to it. Copper washer. That's just a gasket there. And the pump drive. It's like a standard tongue and groove type pump drive. So now, next, I should say, next we've got to lower down this pump drive housing. Four more bolts. All right. Grab you here. Take a look at that oil pump. Alright, so there's the scavenging. Look at my hand. I told you this engine was sludgy. Anyway, there's where the front scavenging line attaches and the rear scavenging line. Or do I have that backwards? Yeah, I think I have that backwards. Rear and front scavenging line. There's the pump drive. And that great oil that was in this thing. And this is the discharge. Well, this is going to be a video on its own, cleaning this thing up. Okay, welcome back. So, we saw the oil pump removed. Now I've managed to unbolt the oil pump drive housing, which that expended most of my patience for today, getting those 4 bolts out. But wasn't all that bad, I guess. So it's dropped down now. Now the housing itself here can fall all the way down to the bottom of the pan, but there is no way that the drive end and the gear will fit through this hole in the casting. No amount of wiggling and jiggling can get it out. The manual even says so. It says this cannot be removed without pulling the pan. But I think I may be able to remove this gear and either slide the shaft out of the housing first, or even just removing the gear will allow me enough clearance to pull the housing out. So the gear appears to just have a pin driven through it. I'm already in the process of driving it out. And the manual calls for a special puller to pull this gear off the drive end. I think I may have a small 2-jaw puller that will work just fine though. So let me take care of that, keep driving that pin out. It's not a taper pin, it appears to be just a cylindrical, like almost like a dowel pin that's a good press fit through here. So let me continue on with that and we'll come back in a second. Alright, well we had success. That gear came off there without too much difficulty, really. Didn't even need a puller. Just there was a little bit of backlash in the shaft, and I was able to get a small flathead screwdriver in there, and it slid right off. So that's good. Here's a pin. It's brass. I was kind of surprised to see that. It's got some grooves cut in it here. I'm not sure if that's like a wear mark, like this gear was actually loose on the shaft. Another one there. I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit when I said this gear slid off of there. I did have to work it a little bit, but it definitely was not loose. So I don't know. Once we get it all cleaned up, we'll address that. Now this shaft should slide out of here. I don't know if I can do it with just one hand. Again, this is another fairly heavy component. It's all cast iron. So at this time, we can start pulling the cam. And that's going to consist of removing the two flyweights, governor flyweights. There's a hex nut here. I should have brought the light over. Hex nut on the end of this shaft. And then the cam gear and the injection pump drive gear can be pulled off. And then there's the thrust bearing retainer plate here, and the cam will slide right out. So stay tuned. Alright, well, getting ready to pull the camshaft gear, and I run into an issue. I've pulled the governor weights off. They're sitting right over here. That was easy. However, this nut here has to come off in order to get the cam gear off. That's a 2-inch hex nut. Got a 2-inch socket here, but nowhere near deep enough. So I think that's about all for this weekend. I'm going to have to try to acquire a deep 2-inch socket before the coming weekend so I can get that off and get this gear pulled off. So I think that's an abrupt ending to this video, but still got a lot done between getting the injection pump off and the oil pump out and the oil pump drive out. So all in all, pretty successful, I would say. But alright, well, that's it. So appreciate you watching and stay tuned for more.